everyone. This is Mannin from Divine List, and today we're going to talk about landing pages.
Yeah.
Some of this some of you already know, some of this we don't know. So depending on your knowledge base, this may be a very short or kind of lengthy presentation. But the landing page, the ultimate hacked non-expert guide, done by myself and Danique from Startup Robot. So to get started, pretty much what we're going to talk about is just what are the best practices of a landing page, what a landing page is used for, and how we can actually put these best practices in play to actually increase our conversions or get to what we want to get to when we put up a landing page for a website. For those of us who may not know what a landing page is, pretty much any page or website for a specific purpose, or traffic is sent there for a specific purpose or to prompt a specific action. So most of us have encountered landing pages throughout our lives as we go through the internet. If it's landing on Facebook sign up page or landing on HubSpot, download an ebook landing page. They're all to do one specific thing and to prompt a specific action. And we're going to talk about the three main reasons why you may want to build a landing page for your own startup. So one second, let me see if I can just, hey Laurie, could you help me just resize this so everything fits?
No, the window itself.
Yeah, the window itself. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Right, so yeah, there we go. So the first reason why you may want to have a landing page is to pretty much validate your idea. So before you build anything, some people, before they build anything, they want to put up a landing page to see if people would sign up, people would pay for it. And it's a good way to test your audience without necessarily asking them directly. Because people won't give you true responses if you ask them, hey, would you buy this? Because sometimes they're just going to give you the ideal response, right? But if you put something like a landing page in front of them that seems real, then they would give a more realistic response. They'd either ignore it or they'd click that button to pre-order or buy your service. And so it's a good way to validate whether or not you have an audience or whether or not you're right about your target audience by putting up a fake landing page. And I say yes, fake. A fake landing page that actually doesn't have to result into anything, but to just test an idea. Other people do it to, in this case, where we see with the Bounce iPhone app, to just really launch with an audience. So before they launch their product, they would have people pre-order, and then they would launch with, let's say, a specific market. So if it is that you are building something like a marketplace and you need people to sign up to your marketplace before you can launch, then this is one way of doing it, by putting up a landing page to collect leads, to collect information, and then launch when you actually reach your quota. Now, another reason would be to collect leads. And this is very similar to validating, but this is more about figuring out who your potential target audience is, or to figure out who are the people who may be interested in what you're selling. So sometimes you want to figure out, maybe you're doing something, maybe you're doing a design startup like we're seeing here with Interaction Design Trends, and you want to share information to people who may be interested in buying your product. And so you would put up a landing page to collect their email address and give them something in exchange, maybe an ebook or maybe a free wallpaper, maybe if you're Diamond Go, maybe some game engines. Right? These are good ways to figure out who are people who may buy your product by giving them something for free or in exchange for their email address or contact detail. And finally, is to simply sell your service. So you want people to buy your product, you want people to sign up to your service, and so your landing page is usually used to really communicate what it is that you do so that you can compel someone to either buy from or use your service. Now, so we're going to get into some of the best practices. Laurie? Could you help me make this full screen again? Instead of okay, never mind. Yeah. Okay. So landing page best practices. And we're going to talk about just 4 main things that your landing page should have, which is first your USP, which is your unique selling point, like what it is that you want people to sign up for, what is the purpose of your landing page, which is one of the most important things of that landing page. We're going to talk about benefits in terms of speaking benefits instead of speaking features, and how to turn your features into benefits. We're going to talk about proving whatever it is that you say that it's real. Sometimes people will not want to trust your website unless there are some trust indicators or unless there is some social proof that other people are using it too. And finally, your call to action, which is the action that you want them to take when they land on your page. So we're going to go through all four of these. It's just pretty much practices when we're designing and developing our landing page under these categories. So your first point is your headline should not suck. And your headline is a part of your unique selling point, which is the first thing that your visitors are going to see. And it has one clear job, which is to get them to understand what it is that you do. And so when you're doing that, you should try to choose clarity over being clever. Sometimes you want to be clever, you want to sound cool, you want to sound funny, but it may be at the expense of them understanding what it is that you actually do. They may laugh and they say, oh, I don't get it. So clarity smooths away the conversion, and you want to choose clarity over being clever almost 100% of the time. Now, I'm going to show you like 3 formulas for a great headline to help us like think about like how do I come up with a headline for my business, and 3 formulas that actually work. One is to frame your product as, let's say, the only way to do something that is desirable without having to do something that is undesirable. For example, the only way to lose weight without going to the gym, right? Very solid headline for your website. Another formula is to do something hard in a period of time, or it should be short period of time, or relatively short, or to promise them something. For example, to do a full workout in 15 minutes, or never go to the gym again. Finally, is to do something desirable, like an athlete or expert, without doing something undesirable or expected. So get ripped like an athlete without the crazy workouts. So these are 3 ways that you can think about your startup and think about what you're, and these headlines are derived from your value proposition. So if you built out a business model canvas, the part where you have your value proposition, you can then think about what is the value that I'm trying to offer to these people, to my customers, and then use one of these formulas that best fit your startup. Next is the secondary headline, or the super sub, which is pretty much what you use to help drive home your pitch when they land on that landing page. You really have about 5 to 8 seconds to communicate what your page does before we either lose interest or we just get confused. And so like what you want to do with your headline is, and your secondary headline, is to make it, that combination should be as clear as possible as to what it is that you do as a startup. And there are 2 uses of the secondary headline. It can be a direct extension of the headline itself, where it follows just the primary messaging, and pretty much it's like finishing the sentence of the headline. The second one is to pretty much extend the message. So it's not necessarily finishing the sentence, but you're finishing the point, or extending the message, or putting another point to really state or pronounce what it is that you do. 2 examples of that, headline being the only way to eat out without leaving home. Secondary headline, leaving home sucks, order your next meal online so you don't have to, right? It's a good way to use a secondary headline to drive home the point of the first. Second is never miss another photo op. Let Drone Cam be your personal photographer while you enjoy life as it happens, right? This is also another way to extend the message, right? So you can use either of these strategies to have a great headline and sub-headline combination. So we're going to look at a poor landing page in the context of headline and subheaders. And like as we can see, the headline here is a testimonial. Now, testimonials are great for websites. Something that you always want to have there to get some trust indicators on your page. But they make very horrible, terrible headlines because they're not necessarily speaking specifically about what you do, right? And in this context, even the subheadline, how can you MD work for your practice, doesn't really say anything. It has something to do with physicians or doctors, you know, but like you don't really know. And so you want to avoid doing things like this. And even the legibility of your headline in terms of the design standpoint is something that we can talk at a later point. But a better one is COTAP. Now, the reason why COTAP is better is, one, they don't use a testimonial, but two, is even though work in the moment, right, it's still not as clear as it could be, right? However, the secondary headline, secure mobile messaging for business teams, they effectively use their secondary headline to put everything in context. And so you can choose to go this route to really let your first headline be a bit ambiguous, but it's not recommended, unless you have a very no-brainer application, or unless you're popular. Like only when you're popular and people know you, you can actually start doing clever things with your headline. But you're new, you want to be as clear as possible. A good one is Invoice Sherpa, where Invoice Sherpa says, start getting paid faster. Right? Very clear, very upfront, and that's appealing to me because we all want to get paid faster. And then there's your secondary headline, automated accounts receivables using your existing accounting software. And then puts everything in context. This is something for someone who's running a business or runs their own, or works in some accounting firm or does the accounting part of their business, and they want to automate that payment process, right? You can use Invoice Sherpa, right? And so this is how clear you want to be when you're thinking about your headline. And in this case, they're using a promise for their headline. This is the formula that they chose, right? Start getting paid faster. That is their promise. So next up is the benefits of using your service. So it's very important that you speak benefits, not features. And it's very important that you actually speak benefits on your platform, on your landing page. You want to speak to the audience to let them know why it is that you're important to me. How can you help me? And sometimes speaking about the features of your service, you end up speaking more about yourself and less about the audience that you're trying to attract. So you want to speak directly to the needs of your visitors as opposed to talking about yourself, right? Now, we're going to go through like 4 steps where we can take a website like WordPress, take their features and turn them into benefits. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing you want to do is take the features off your platform. And you want to list the key product features, the key ones that you think would be the most important to your consumers. And then, for instance, for WordPress, we have point-and-click site design controls, right? Mobile responsive layouts, and one-click automatic theme updates. Those are what WordPress believes are the 3 key themes that makes them unique, and that's their value proposition, okay? Then you want to examine what each of those features does, or why you include them in the first place. Like, why do you think that they're the most important, right? And so you look at your features, and we're going to take the first one. Point-and-click site design controls becomes, the reason why it was chosen is because it easily customizes your site in fewer steps. That's what it does for you. Okay, so you can start seeing, even from just doing step 1 to step 2, how you took your feature and actually made it to the consumer's benefit, right? And that's what you want to do. So once you can identify the reason why you chose those platforms, then you want to go to step 3, which is our features. You want to go to step 3, which is ask yourself, how do these features connect with your prospects' true desires? So like, yeah, it's easy for them to customize their website in fewer steps. So like, why is that important to them, right? And so the reason why it's important is because it gives them the ease and ability to change their own website in minutes without the need or expense of a developer, right? And so we start getting closer to that features, that benefit statement, right? And then finally, once we identify what is the true desire of the consumer, you then want to try to connect to them on an emotional level, right? So you want to ask yourself, what does this mean for my user on an emotional level, right? And this helps you to truly understand the benefit of that feature, right? And so we're going to start from so we have point-and-click site design controls becomes easily customizes your website in fewer steps. And the true purpose of that is to create the ease and ability to change your own website without the need for a developer. And when you think about it from an emotional level, you start using words like the freedom and flexibility to not have to pay a developer to update your website and give you full creative control at your fingertips, right? And so that's how we move from just a feature to a benefit, right? You start thinking about how this consumer feels after using this feature. right? And it then helps you to even validate whether or not that is a key feature to begin with. Okay, so if you list out your key features in step one, and you realize that at the end of the day it's not really adding true value, it's probably supporting another feature, then you realize that it's not a key feature. It does not need to be on your landing page. Okay, so we're going to look at WordPress in action today in terms of how they speak benefits, and you can see that they do a good job. Starting, they use very simple terms, easy to use, and they sometimes try to avoid technical terms, right? They try to just speak emotively, but like they're not doing the best that they could do, because you still have stuff like SEO friendly, search engine, etc., 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 which it could be a case where they're just trying to target that specific audience, right? But then you have people who are not as technical who use WordPress, right? So a better feature website is Path. Path is filled with benefit statements, right? And I can read a few. So one of my favorite is, let's see. Right. So it's one of my favorites is better than likes, where use Path emoticons to do more than just like a friend's post. Smile or frown, laugh or love, it's up to you. Very emotional, you know? And the next one is like a timeline search. Revisit a lifetime of moments by searching for friends, birthdays, places, cities, holidays, months, seasons, and more. Right? So they want to get you to like just envision yourself using this application, right? And that's what you want for your consumers. Get them to see themselves using it just by coming on your landing page, right? And the more that you can do that, is the more they be compelled to actually sign up to use your platform, right?
As a user, I like it because
Exactly. So that's a good way to do it. I like this because of, and you use that to do your features. Okay. So thirdly, you want to prove everything. This big story. You're telling us that you have this wonderful application that does all these great things. You need to prove it to your audience, right? Because the internet is made of skeptics. Okay. And you can prove it firstly by using social proof. Now, social proof is the use of just social indicators or signals to let your audience know that other people have tried and liked what you're offering, right? And it's a very persuasive tool, as people tend to try things that other people have tried, right? And so one example of social proof, or a website that uses a lot of social proof, is Basecamp, right? And you can see they're using, 5,000 companies have signed up. They have a testimonial right there. And if you scroll down, you'll see how many people actually use the service. So like they're all about using social proof to validate that they are real and that people have tried and enjoyed their service, right? Now, some of us may not have, let's say, 5,000 people sign up to our service, all right? And we may think it's very difficult to get social proof, but social proof can come from just talking to your potential target audience. So even before you sell them something, the people who you interviewed, the people who you talked to, the people who you put this in front of, and the good feedback that you got, like with their permission, you can use that as social proof, So you can start collecting social proof from day one before you even actually start building your service. Next is you can also use trust indicators, right? If social proof is not enough for you and you need another way, maybe you're maybe you're in food, maybe you're in medicine, right? And you need to build up trust with your target audience. Trust indicators are good ways to build trust, where you can incorporate testimonials, as I said before, but endorsements from more established companies or more established people, right? You can use that on your website. Reviews, mentions from newspapers, can always put that on your platforms, and guaranteed seals and third-party trust certifications. So maybe you got a seal from NEPA if you're in the environment, right? You can put that on your website so that people know that they can trust you, okay? And finally, your call to action is something that you do not want to screw up. Like after you've done all this work, right, from your USP to getting proof to speaking features to speaking benefits, your call to action is what you actually use to convert these people into either users or leads or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very important that you just do not mess it up, right? It's a final point of interaction and your last opportunity to convert your visitors, right? Now, sometimes the question is, where do I place my call to action, right? There are two general places that a call to action would go: above the fold or below the fold. Above the fold being, which is the most common choice, is a space that a visitor sees without having to scroll. So they land on your website, and whatever they see above, in front of them without scrolling, that's above the fold, and that's where most people put their call to actions. However, others choose to go below the fold, and they sometimes choose that if it is that their product is a bit more complex, right? Above the fold is a matter of, I can explain my product in as very little words as possible, and so it's very simple to understand and digest. But maybe you're doing something in, I don't know, biochemistry, and you're doing a startup within that field, and you need some time to really explain what it is that you're doing. Sometimes choosing above the fold in that context, it doesn't give your audience enough time to digest what it is that you're doing before they choose to sign up. And so they either leave because they're confused, or they sign up without knowing what they're signing up for, which later is going to hurt you, because you're going to realize that half your leads are actually not real people who are interested in your service. Okay? So this is an example of an above the fold call to action. Everything is in front of you. There's no scrolling involved. We have our headline and we have our call to action. Try clicks now, right? This is an example of a below the fold. And below the fold, it's advisable that you choose the ADA model when you're doing that, so it can increase your conversion. And if you did marketing, if not, it's fine. But ADA means attention, interest, desire, and action, right? So you want to take your audience through a journey, right? And you want to design your landing page with a below the fold call to action in such a way where you grab their attention first, right? You pique their interest, right? You speak to their desires with your benefit statements, and then you give them a call to action, right? And that's one way that you can really optimize a below the fold website. And sometimes below the fold websites do perform better than above the fold websites. It's completely dependent on the type of service. And so I said before, choosing above or below, there is no set rule. Like, you can choose above, you can choose below. It's really up to you, right? However, as a guide, the simpler your product is to understand, it above the fold generally works best in those circumstances. But if you're doing something that's a bit more complex, then you want to go below the fold to give your audience time to digest the information that is on your landing page. Okay? Some people do use both. Definitely. Some people choose to use both, where they capture the people who get it and they follow the ADA model, right? So that they can capture the audience who scrolls. And so as I said before, there is no rule. You can always go hybrid, right? And that's a good point. Some people do use both. So now, your buttons. It may seem like the most trivial thing, but it's really not, right? Because your button is what your audience is gonna interact with, and it needs to be very clear what your button does, and your button needs to be easily found and identifiable. It needs to actually look like a button, right? And so what we're gonna do is just to go through like 6 guideline practices, best practices for effective button design, right? So you want contrast, clickability, and use a good size, right? Contrast meaning the color of your button should not blend into the background image, right? Your button is not playing hide and seek with your audience. So it should be very clear what and where your button is. Now, clickability is just simply saying that it looks like a button, right? If it looks too flat and unclickable, then people just think it's just another design element on the page, right? So you want to make it look like a button. Put some effort into actually what your button looks like. And size. The bigger you are, the better in terms of the size of your button, right? You want to go big or your audience will leave when you're thinking about your button. And so an example of this is Zendesk, right? Zendesk uses a button that looks like a button, right? Right position, right size, right? And it contrasts with the background image. So it's very clear that this is where you want me to go, okay? And again, it's an above the fold. Another 3 is directional cues. Sometimes if you're using a below the fold, you want to have some directional cue to let people know that there's more below, right? So you grab their attention You can use an arrow, or you can use an image element that is halfway, like it is cut off at the bottom of the page to indicate that there's more, right? That's on your landing page, okay? So sometimes you want to guide your user through that process. Next is your copy, like what is the text on your button? Now, words like submit, it's no, okay? Don't use submit, because submit does not tell your audience what it is that that button does. It just says submit. You want to actually complete the sentence, sit into the customer's shoe, or stand in their shoe or in their chair, and say to yourself, I want to, and then add that text on your button. So for example, I want to sign up for Zendesk. That's a good copy for your button. And your button should complete that sentence for the customer, right? And so you can use that as a rule of thumb to add things to your button. And it doesn't matter if it's long, it can be a long text, it's fine. Some people put sentences on a button because it works, okay? So finally, white space. Like, you want to give your button enough breathing room so that it's easily identifiable, right? And that there's space around that button. An example again is Basecamp. So Basecamp uses great white space on their website, and they have no problem letting their buttons be a little bit more wordy than the norm, right? So I want to give Basecamp a try. It's free for 60 days. So you want to just complete that sentence when you put your copy on your buttons. Okay. Now, a few notes on user experience is that trust must be earned, right? And it's not an easy thing. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to your grammar on your website, right? You want to make sure that you choose either it's British or American English. Do not do both, right? Because some things are in British English is wrong in American English and vice versa, right? And you want to know your audience, right? And you want to speak to them. And that means sometimes you have a product that can approach or is relevant to a number of different audiences, people from different backgrounds, but you have to really choose which one of them you're actually trying to appeal to, right? Because if you're trying to appeal to all of them, like, they'll know, right? And if they can't really place you, then they aren't able to trust you, right? And so you need to so if you're choosing to build your voice and build your persona as, let's say, a 20-year-old or a 50-year-old, like, you have to choose and speak to that audience specifically, right? You also need to pay attention to your tone, both verbally and visually. Like, what are you portraying on your website? Is it what I want to be seen as, right? Am I coming off hippie? Am I coming off happy? Am I a dark website? Like, you want to make sure that everything you do on your landing page is intentional, right? And finally, like, stock photos are unadvisable, right? Sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes you feel it's unavoidable to use a stock photo because you're small, you can't take your own photos. But I mean, you can try, right? And the reason why stock photos are ill-advised is because, like, they're easily spotted. Like, I can tell that that's a stock photo, right? And then it comes off very fake to me. Then everything on this website just doesn't seem real, right? So you don't want someone to look at your platform and, like, they Google and they know that this is an iStock photo, and are they just, it's like a fake smile to them. It's not genuine, right? So try to use original images as best as possible, right? Or take them yourself. Next is to avoid surprises, unless you're good, like really, really good. You want to avoid surprises. And what I say avoid surprises is because the internet has grown into a culture. Like, they understand how the website works, how the internet works, right? And so when you come and I land on a web page and then things just start looking weird or things just start acting differently, then I'm going to try to avoid your website because it's messing up with my ecosystem that I've been used to. So things like, make sure that your links actually look like links. Don't try to get too fancy. Like, we know how a link works, right? So stick to the best practices. Right? Also, regular text should not look like links, right? Because then they're going to click it, nothing's not going to work, and they're going to leave. No button or links that don't work as expected. So, like, if let's say there's a play button, right, and it doesn't play, then you need to like look on your platform and make sure that all your buttons are doing like what the icons say they should do. Don't try to switch it up, right? Because then your audience is gonna get confused and they're gonna leave, right? Try not to have any uninvited audio. I'm listening to music almost all the time when I'm browsing. So when I land on a website, I don't want to hear music playing. So these are some of the things that you want to avoid, right? In terms of building your landing page, you want to get creative, but you also want to entice your audience, not surprise and scare them off. So go easy on the eyes as well as the mind, right? Make sure that your text is properly spaced out, right? Make sure that your font is legible. Make sure that it's easy for me to just scan through your website, because that's how people look at websites. It's not like when I'm reading a book, I read from left to right. But when they land on a website, they're just looking all over the place to find like just things that catch their eye, right? So you want to make it very easy for me to scan your website and be, enticed with what's going on that page, okay? An easy way to test your landing page, you can do two things, and we call it the white paper test, right? So the white paper test is you take your headline, you take your secondary headline, you put it on a piece of white paper with no background images, and you put it in front of someone and see if they get what it is about, right? That's how you know you have a really good headline and secondary headline. If you can do the white paper test and it passes, okay? Another way to test is after let's say you've done your white paper testing and you built your landing page, you want to grab a test subject, right? And you want to do it from a random person. And you want to ask them these specific questions, like let them know you're going to show them a website, and ask them to think out loud, right, about what it is that they think the website is about. What do they think? What does the information say to them, right? What actions do they think that they can take? And like what other comments do they have? That's a good way to, and do it with a random person. Don't do it with your friend. They're gonna lie to your face. Okay? Don't do it with your friend. Or just a random person. Let them be very honest. And that's a good way to see if your website is actually effective, in a very small cohort. Right? As you introduce this to more people, you're gonna learn more things. But at least you get to prepare for some of the obvious things that you missed while you're working in the box, because you understand your website. And so what happens is that you sometimes apply your understanding to what's on the landing page and think it's very easy to understand when it's not, okay? So it's good that you get someone random who has nothing to do or not affiliated with your product to be able to look through your landing page so that they can test whether or not it's effective. We don't have to visit Typeform today. But we can talk about just a small short talk about metrics, which is pretty much how you know that your landing page is effective at the end of the day. See, you use metrics to measure the goals that you set up when you're building this landing page. So we said you either are trying to validate, you're either trying to sell your product, or you're trying to collect leads. You use metrics to see how effective is your landing page, And so good landing pages sometimes convert between 20 to 30%. Great ones 40% up. And so you want to look into those and to see, okay, am I converting within that 20 to 30% conversion rate? And if you're somewhere at 10%, you can see where your options are, or where your opportunities are to improve that conversion. Okay. So, and conversion, it just means how many people are the rate of conversion, or the rate of converting people to, let's say, that lead or that customer, versus how many people are visiting your website. All right, so that's your conversion rate. Okay. So we're gonna talk about like the metrics that we had at the Vinus, like some of the things, how metrics really helped us figure out like what we're doing as a platform, and how you can actually do it yourself as a startup, and the benefits of being a startup when you're talking about metrics. And so the goal we had was to get more people to sign up. Simple, right? And this was our very first landing page. So as you can see, we're breaking all the rules, right, in terms of what we talked about just now. Right? Like this is the page, and we're breaking every rule. There's no real headline. Like there's this script there that people are not gonna read. The button, like it's tiny, right? We're breaking all the rules. We had no idea what we're doing, right? And like we put up this landing page, and we realized that people weren't clicking the sign up button. They were clicking that image over there. And I don't know why. We don't know why, right? But how we found out was we had Clicky installed, which is one tool you can use to track your metrics, right? You can use it with Google Analytics, and what Clicky does, it allows you to, what we use it for is it gives you heat maps on your page so you can see where people are clicking.
Is it free or cost?
So Clicky is free up to you get a free 2-month service where you can use the heat maps, but you're a startup, so 2 months is good time. Yeah. So you can use that to test your landing page at the very beginning. And so we realized that they were clicking that, so we just made that clickable for a little bit, right? Just to see if we could, until we figured out how to improve it. And then we tried changing our landing page. Now this again, we weren't informed. Like we were just like looking around, trying our best, and so, but things started getting better, you know. But the conversions were still not really as high as we wanted to be. They were like at probably like 6%, right? And we were aiming for 10 to 15% at least. And so we tried changing it again, and like it didn't work. And we tried changing this. This actually peaked or conversions, but we got like probably 10, 11%, right? And then we're like, we had this running for a little bit, and then we said, you know what? This is gonna be the landing page, right? But before we put this out, I landed on another website, and I got an idea. So what I thought was, why not just drop the landing page altogether, right? And just throw people into the experience, right? And this increased our conversion rate by 40%. Like we were in the 20s, right, when we did this switch. Now the point of this is, sure, landing pages are awesome, right? But at the end of the day, your startup is very different. And you want to think about and test the different things that you could do about your startup. So you can start from a landing page, but testing is very important, right? So you can use Google Analytics, you can use Clicky or whatever other services that are out there to really test to see how effective your landing page is, right? Because you may be getting conversions, but then at the end of the day, you look and you realize that, let's say you converted 10 people, that feels awesome, but 1,000 people landed on your page, right? You're like, wait, what happened to those other people, right? So you want to always be mindful of the full picture of like what's going on.
Yeah, sorry, just wanted to add to your point, Mannin, that we also have to remember the purpose of the landing page. So remember, the landing page doesn't necessarily mean your website. And as Mannin was saying before, if you're doing testing, that's perfect for your landing page. If you're doing a campaign, like that is good for a landing page. Remember, the landing page, or people sometimes call it a sales page, right? Means that you are putting information on that particular page, and that's the only information you want a person to see. You don't want them to click out anywhere else. So your home page is different to a landing page. Landing page shouldn't have buttons other than the one button there for them to click on, because that's the point. I've seen an ad on Facebook, or I've seen an ad somewhere else that speaks about a campaign to buy this phone. When I go to the landing page, I should only see this phone, and it should be the information that I saw in the ad. You can't click out anywhere else. You must click either yes, you're going to buy it, or no, right? So that's the point. Once you've established, once you're outside of that campaign or that testing, so if you're testing to get users, onboard users, you should be concentrating on creating your website. Your website is going to have a totally different objective. Sorry, I just want to say that.
Right. So yeah. So Lauren is right. Your landing page, as said before, has one specific purpose, and it should be consistent with that specific purpose, right? And so you don't want to have distractions that are unrelated to that purpose on your landing page. And so everything starts from, why am I building a landing page to begin with, right? Because then, depending on the goal, then you can know how flexible you can be with building that page, right? So one is to, let's say, is to follow a specific campaign or to sell a specific product, right? You want your landing page to be about that specific goal, right? In our case, we wanted to get people signed up. And so what we did was turn this homepage, and everything that you saw there, if you're not logged in, said join the Vinus when you hover, right? So everything had the same call to action, but we realized that people needed to experience what the Vinus was to either actually get it, to actually figure out like why it is we were building what we were doing. And a part of it was because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what the copy should be, right? And so even last week, we changed our header after doing this presentation in the boot camp,
Oh.
right? So instead of it saying "Welcome to the Vine List," it now says the easiest place to find products in Jamaica, right? Just make it very clear, and that was our promise.
If I may, Lord, personally, I don't know. I prefer this one because this is how my mind works. If somebody says the ban list and I'm going to check out the ban list, yeah, I'm interested in a landing page and I want to know something. But ultimately, my goal is how does this work? That's I jump from the hole. What is it? I just want to know how it works. So I don't know. This is it's about landing page. I don't. This just works for me personally.
Well, I'm gonna throw an opinion,
Show me the pages now.
which is the fact that you made a point earlier about 20 or 50 man or woman, hippie or happy. The fact is that unless you know who the person is, you don't know what to present to the person. You don't never talk to the person, you don't know what to present to the person. What you have done here is you have presented a number of options which could capture any number of people. It would be interesting to see which ones are more effective, which option for the join button is more effective than the other. I also want to make another point. You're talking about testing here, but what you're really speaking about is measuring. You're not talking about testing, you're talking about measuring. Testing is really A/B testing, where you're testing one option versus another. You're not talking about measuring. What you're talking about here is measuring and saying, okay, I want to improve. Let me show everybody else another option, as opposed to A/B testing, which is really.
All right, no, I get what you're
really
saying.
talking about, what you're really talking about here is measuring.
Right.
That's what that's
Definitely get that. And when I say,
you're gonna have to explain this.
yeah, so when I say testing is very important, I'm talking about the complete process that you go through when you're actually like figuring out what landing page works for you,
But that's measuring.
right? And so you measure to test, like
But to test, you have to test against something else. Which one is more effective?
exactly. So what we did was we
Maybe this is a longer version.
Yeah.
A more protracted version.
exactly.
But it's really, you really
Exactly.
what you're doing is measuring this option and then measuring
And then see how it
another
relates
option.
to that one, and
Whereas
then
A/B testing allows you to measure
is in
options
at the same time, right? And when we could get into testing at another time in terms of like the different ways to test, right? Because you do have A/B testing, and then you can test by just if you're very very small, and you have the ability, because these landing pages changed over weeks. Like we run it for a week, we put something else another week to see how if it went up or went down, right? And it's very unorthodox, right? But you can do things differently.
But even that in itself might be unorthodox. Reason being is that your traffic patterns, maybe your traffic patterns look the same every week.
Yeah.
People have cyclical monthly traffic patterns. Maybe outside like this, you might see people shopping closer to when they get paid.
Right.
So your traffic might be peaking closer to the last week of the month. In which case your testing wouldn't be real.
It wouldn't be a weekly thing. You'd have to do it a monthly. Right.
Across the same period.
Exactly. Right.
Which is why A/B testing in that instance would be better than
Right.
this.
Right. And so the point is though, is that we're all startups and we will have different ways of figuring things out, right? And then as you get older, are more mature, you will then start learning even more best practices, right? To be efficient, right? But for today, hopefully we gave you enough insight to figure out where to get started when you're thinking about your landing page, right? And when you're thinking about, measuring and or testing the effectiveness of your platform, right? Any questions?
Yeah.
You missed
Yeah.
a line.
Yeah.
First of all, jump back into the presentation. Go back to, slide 4 or so, where you were talking, where you started the architecture, the layout of the landing page, because you missed a line. I don't know if it was to say that line is a fold, but go back.
Sorry.
Oh, pardon.
Up. That one. I don't know if
The 9?
is the fold.
Yeah, 9 is the fold.
Okay, because you didn't mention it.
Yeah. So 9 is the fold.
Yeah, just something related to the Bandits website. I just went to the Bandits website and I was looking for Gatsby Wax. I typed a little search bar at the top and I couldn't. When I pressed enter, nothing happened.
That's a technical thing, I guess, it's broken.
Any other questions for Mannin?
My question is, I am very dense, so I'm happy with it. So we're saying that if we're not confident in what it is or our targets are, who our targets are, a landing page would be the best option as opposed to if we know specifically who our target is.
Okay, expound on that.
Okay, so a landing page is for what is the first interaction that you have, that's a user would have with my product or my company. Okay.
So let me try to help you here if I understand what you're saying.
Please.
You're really trying to get at the purpose of a landing page, right? So in other words, if the landing page can serve several purposes. You can test to see if you have the right audience, if you are attracting the right people. So when you come up with your ideal target audience, your avatar, this person who you say is your, and Mannin, sorry, I'll let you answer as well. You come up with your avatar, you know who this person is, and you say it is males between 15 and 25. Now, you can put up a landing page, you can say, based on what I believe this person is interested in this is the promise I'm making this person, and it's the language they use. Put up the landing page, and you can test and see, are these people coming to my page, right? Boom, one thing. And you continue to test, as Kyle was saying, you're doing your A/B testing. So if you have one version of the landing page, you have another version, so maybe a button color is different, maybe red versus green, or a different message, or completely different landing page to see what makes sense, right? So you're testing, are you attracting the right target audience? Are you ensuring that these people are clicking on it, and which page is getting the most conversion, right? Now, if you're doing testing to see if your product, to validate your product, as Mannin was showing you on one of the slides, if you want to pre-sell, which you all should, pre-sell before you create. Remember, you're validating you've come up with your hypothesis, you're validating, and this is a part of the validation. So don't just wait on those 5 phone calls either. Put up a landing page, and even with the 5 phone calls or 10 or however many you're making, you're sending people to the landing page and you're saying, this is it. If you're boosting posts or you're doing however you're bringing traffic to your page, you're going to see how many signups you're getting. Now, with the Vinist, they have done their testing already, right? They have launched their product. They don't necessarily need a landing page to get signups. What they're doing is selling their product. So now what they've recognized in doing their testing that it makes sense for people to just enter the Vinist and see what's happening there. Once you hit it, you realize that it's a marketplace, and you can always click on their buttons to see how it works, what information is happening. If the Vinist wanted to do a specific campaign around hats, because they have a client who says, hey, let's do a campaign about hats. They send out some ads, some Facebook ads or whatever, and it's all about getting a hat. That hat, they would maybe have a landing page that is talking about that hat alone and that. And then maybe it's going to click off to your shopping cart, right? So you can use landing pages, and you should be using landing pages in your business as you do campaigns, and you have specials, or you have a discount. You should be using it in that way, right? So I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You did it perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't understand how
I don't know if I should
understood
trust you, because
you
that's
understood
other
it.
issue.
I don't know how you understood it, but you understood it.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, okay. So your first landing page is more than likely going to be the one that you use to either validate or sell your startup. And so it's to just clearly communicate what it is that you do and why or how you do it, right? And you use that to collect your signups, collect your leads, collect your first cohort, right? And that's what you use to pretty much, that's a launch pad for your service or your product. Okay.
To answer my question,
Yeah.
like,
The landing page can be, it's home page. The landing page doesn't have to be a home page.
Right.
In most instances,
When you
it
say
will be.
pre-sell, sorry, we can ask David, could you expound on
In
the
the initial
I
stage.
mean, what are you asking? David's asking a question about. Okay.
The other thing is that, so the campaign.
I got a campaign. No, because I was questioning like, what's the point though? Because I know exactly what I want to sell. I have my audience already. Well, I mean, what you two said about the whole pre-sale and getting people on board initially, specifically to to be specific about it and say, look, this is what I'm doing. You want to be on board and not overwhelmed with this whole information.
All right.
I get you.
When you say you have your audience already, what do you mean?
Well, I know who I'm targeting.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
No, yeah, but like, do you know how to get them to use your service?
Manipulation, Ministry of Education. That's I don't know if I answer any question.
I mean, like, see, here's the thing, like, we have to be thinking practically, like the actual steps that they will go through to know who you are and know what you do,
Okay.
right? So you're not going to physically go to the ministry or go to schools and like write them down on a piece of paper, no, because you can't do that. Like, you could start out that way, but to scale, you need a way where you can collect them as they come, right? What your landing page does is pretty much that net, right? So all that reach that you have, you direct them to this landing page, they come here, and how it communicates will help them move from just being a part of that cohort to being a part of your cohort.
Okay.
So that's what the landing page does.
I think one thing that's important to put up there is the fact that, and it goes back to both of you guys' point, is the fact that how people get to a landing page is going to be usually from some source point that you define. So that source point can be the Facebook ads. That source point can be the Google ads. That source point can be a particular URL that you give to the people at the ministry. So you can say, go to my website.com/whatever. That's like you sometimes see when you see people advertising on TV, and they say go to whatever /TV50. That's a custom URL that they want you to use for them to help measure number one, how effective their TV advertising is, and number two, to ensure that you see the content that so that they see the content that you want them to see based on the ad that you're pushing. So the landing page is usually something that you craft in response to either to some specific source that a referral point that you have created. There's another thing to consider, which is also where you have traffic which may be coming from a search engine, and people have searched for hats for sale in Jamaica. It simply means that when I land on the buy list, don't show me boots or belts. Show me cars. I'm going to land on the buy list homepage same way, but because I can now interrogate the referral, the referral from the Google referral URL is coming in, I can now tailor my page to say
Right.
these are hats for sale.
Right. And you can have, and as you said, you can have it changing. Sorry, you're saying that something?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate that what that does too is, remember when we were talking week before last about the whole sales funnel, and that if you're using a landing page for lead generation, which is what we've been talking about, and even pre-selling can be thought to be the same thing. If you're creating a lead magnet, so something they're giving away for free, like what we're talking about, maybe an ebook or something, then that is also where you'd want to create the landing page, grab it, and then you direct them to your regular website homepage. Some people prefer to use like an about us as a landing page.
Oh, okay, what you're saying. I get about this section.
Right.
Question, you're saying that a landing page doesn't have to be your, for instance, timing through, timingthrough.com, something else, or should it be timing through? Because when people hear about, when I hear about somebody's product or whatever, I'm not gonna try slash that.
But guess what?
No,
If I
I'm just saying, when I try the .com, I want to see something. I don't want to see it come up saying that this is something else, but I want to see what you really want people to see, which is the landing page.
Yeah, but
So I would say you wouldn't want to go somewhere else, and you have your link, which is /this/that, takes you to somewhere else, and then you telling somebody about it, and they don't use that link. They just use timingthrough.com because they heard about timing.
But normally what people will do is they'll incentivize you to use the slash thing, or tell you, say, use invite code XYZ.
No, it depends on where you hear it. I'm saying you might not hear about it in a formal manner.
True.
Well, in
That's
that
the
case,
problem, you know?
but in that case, that's Chinese telephone and the message.
Well, here's the thing.
But Facebook,
Right.
you have to log
Sometimes
into
you would put the landing page, not necessarily on the home page. I heard something. So I think you were saying that before. It might not necessarily be your main domain name.
It's just like a drug trial. Like a drug trial with people. I mean, the doctors can control all the variables they want. They won't control every single thing. You see what I mean? So in other words, you're going to get far more people from the TV ad going to that link than you are just going to the homepage. And you know that you might not get everybody. It's just like with any test. Every test is going to have some flaw. And so that's something that you need to take into account when you're interpreting your results. And then you understand, well, it could be this, it could be that other thing, or whatever it is. But
Well, as pointed out with the above the fold and below the fold, where some people choose both, your options aren't mutually exclusive. And so you can have a direct link that is about whatever the content was being promoted on the TV, right? And you can have your homepage seeing the same thing, or just speaking to a general audience. So it's based on like what you're actually trying to do, what your goal is, who you're trying to reach, and how you're trying to reach them, right? And so you can choose either of the options, or you could choose both, right? There's no rule against it.
So let's make a distinction. Okay, a landing page is literally a page you land on when I've clicked from some source, as Carl said. No, you have different types of landing pages. It can be your home page, it can be your about us page, or it can be a squeeze page. Squeeze page, as I said before, means there's no links anywhere else. What we have been, so like in the boot camp, what you guys have gone through, you technically did a home page, right? Because you have links outside of that message on that page. If you are creating an opt-in page where the only thing I can do is opt in to your email list by being incentivized, by getting something, same thing as a squeeze page, right? Again, depends on what you want. So if you know that when you're creating your landing page for your business, you are not necessarily locking people into a particular action, which is just to click the button and enter. You want them to be able to click on About Us, see how we work, and all of that. You're creating a homepage. Now, the content on your homepage is going to be where you're going to have to strategize now based on what those things, like the things that Mannin was saying. So if you're giving your headline and you want your homepage to be able to communicate very clearly how we work instead of about us, right? How it works. And you might have download the app, join the queue, get in time, something like that. That's very clear with your headline, right? Versus if you were to create a landing page where you want people to now subscribe to grab the app, where you probably have that same thing, but you wouldn't have About Us or anything else. You just say join the movement or something like that. I don't know if I'm confusing you guys or making it clear. So I just wanted to make this distinction that the landing page is any page anybody lands on once they click from somewhere, and then you can now further expound and say it's a home page, About Us page, or opt-in squeeze page.
And so, like, what you guys should take away from this is, like, when you're thinking about your landing page, whether or not it's your homepage that you made that landing page, or whether it's your About Us page, is like, right? It's like these steps can help you communicate effectively what it is that you're trying to get out.
Ideally, I would love to concentrate on one page at this stage.
Sure, sure.
Because you don't really want to limit to. So, landing page is like, well, it can be a hybrid basically. You have the main button you want them to click on, but you may want something like contact us if they want to. If that's not what the button is doing, the button might be asking them to put their information on there. I'm not sure should that button now when you go in there, it has your contact information and they're also there. So you basically can do anything you want once they click on that button. But you keep the first bit simple, so you can measure
So again, it's about intention. So if that button is to sign up, and you want to give them a sign up form next,
Right.
You want it to be expected.
He was, I think that was about that.
Yeah. Basically, the thing is we're kind of selling to two sets of people, and it's two different values that we get from the goods. That it's two different benefits that you get to be communicating. So one of my questions was, is it that
which for example is a company and a customer.
Which two sets of people?
The companies who are
B2B, B2C.
Yes, so the companies that sign up for the app to get the queue scheduling activities, right?
Yeah.
And then now the customers can then join to be a beneficiary of that as well.
Right, so the customers of the businesses that will also sign up. So you may want some people go on there and maybe sign up and recommend probably businesses that they go to doctors or clinics they go to that they may want to. So they may recommend businesses that should to us.
But I wouldn't.
Contact.
I shouldn't need to sign up for that. But
That's a sign up, sorry.
Yeah.
That's me putting your contact information, like maybe an email address. Right, that's what I mean. Sorry.
So
That's fine.
you're asking, do you use one landing page for both
Yes.
audiences, or do you use two?
Or two, or
Two
button,
separate ones.
should we use one button or two?
Here's the thing. I recommend what's generally done are two separate landing pages, right? One for that audience and one for the other audience. And then you, when you're doing your marketing, you would have to be strategic in terms of what link or what landing page you promote to what audience, right? So
That's
you're,
what I wanted to get right.
well, here's the thing, like it's
One, two audience.
No, well,
B2B, B2C.
one is not, I mean, the customers are not the paying audience. They're not paying. So,
I follow.
so it's really the businesses are paying. But what I'm trying to get away, because the stage art, I'm trying to get away from doing two, trying to target the two separate. I want to, if I promote it, if I'm speaking about, or if they hear about it somewhere, that's why I asked you earlier. Because I want to get away without doing that. Slash this link. I just want people to be able to come to timingq.com. If I'm doing an interview on the radio, you might have customers here and businesses.
Right.
If I don't need to say you can timingq/US.
No.
If I was
I want them to be able to come to timingq.com, and from there, the same principles and maybe a button, maybe two buttons. Are you a business that want to
This is how
and take care to hear more about how it can benefit you and your
so what I would do is I would focus on the business one.
Right.
Because that's who is that's where your money is gonna come from. What you can do is you can put a link on the same page. You can put it anywhere that is.
tell your business about us and so
Right.
tell your doctor.
Do you know
about us,
anybody
something
who
like
wants to use?
Yeah.
Whatever, click here.
yeah.
And they can either recommend. No, they click here to tell us.
Yeah,
And then you can then follow up and try.
Right. So that's what I
Yeah, but you don't want like two primary buttons.
No,
on
I
your
oh,
page.
so the
Yeah,
button,
yeah. No, yeah, that's the thing. You don't want like to give them these two options for them to make a decision, because you're gonna lose leads.
That again, same thing that we were having a discussion with some other teams in here. That thank you, Kat, for saying that. You have to be very clear who your primary target audience is.
Right.
You cannot speak to two people at the same time. So again, it comes down to whoever's paying you the money. What you can do is your app should be for the companies. Use TimingQ because I'm going to help you to get more business. Now, what you do is if you want to do a campaign to get users to demand that your company do that, you can create a landing page for that. But just to be clear, when you're talking about having // if you want to have 1 million landing pages because you want to have 1 million campaigns happening or testing, remember that those are links that people are clicking to. And then you, if you're doing radio ads, radio interviews and such, you would tell them your primary domain and you'd have something there to talk to that one customer. But typically, if you're doing, given that you're digital, I would hope that you guys are using digital advertising and start concentrating on the traditional modes. So you having that // won't be a problem once you have links. People don't care what the
Okay, so what do we do here?
Sorry. Every question.
All right, so guys, we can like
One more
we
question.
can.
I just want to make one more point, which is that as a B2B, primarily as a B2B business, you shouldn't try and expect the same conversion metrics as a B2C business.
Right.
It's going to be, you're going to have some people who are coming there just for the curiosity, and they won't be signing up, and so expect your conversion rate to be lower
Mhm.
because it's not a mass market.
Right. And they might not be the decision maker that's looking, might be part of the business, but not the final decision maker that comes to your side.
Yeah,
So they still have to.
right. There'll be more, and that is right, and that is specifically for your homepage. Specifically. You know, creating a landing page based on a campaign that you're running, different thing.
Right.
Then you measure.
And that's a more realistic version. Because what we're saying is that you're going to get customers who are going to use the app, not the businesses
Right.
on the page. So if you get 1,000 people on there, maybe only 10 are
I
actually.
guess I'm just focusing on what the next step that we're gonna take is
Right.
and what we should set up first. And then I guess the campaign will be there.
Right, so it's setting
Just
up your
wanna know
landing
what
page
the first, yeah.
Like if you run, so for instance, you run an email campaign, send out some codes that give people 1 month free.
Promo
Business
codes.
1 month free, right?
Yeah.
Or 2 months free, or
Yeah.
whatever. And then you can test how often the codes are used, or
Yeah.
Right. So great questions, guys. And I hope everyone online managed to see all the way through.
Yeah.
But we will hand over to Laurie again.
We're actually, that's it.
you
Thanks, guys, for being a part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Until next time. Until next Tuesday. Until next Tuesday. We'll see you. And any more questions coming in? Nope. All right. Good.